Hey guys, welcome back to Watch Trading Academy, and just joining me today is Justin Brown. So the Watch Connect on Instagram and business. Welcome to the official headquarters, and for the first time, right, we get to actually interact and talk and
Finally in person, man.
So this guy's got an interesting story which we're going to talk about today, but $500,000 in profit in a rolling 12 months. So big congratulations. It's an exciting amount of cash to add to any business, right?
Yeah.
But the main thing is you didn't just come into this as your first business ever, no money, from the ground up, like a lot of guys start with nothing. You actually were in business previously. Can you give us a little bit of background about what things you were doing before watch trading?
Yeah, so I have 7 other companies, mostly in e-commerce in the fitness world, all the way from, the supplement line Swole AF to a local med spa and a gym next door to HQ. I mean, it's all kinds of stuff, telemedicine. So I came in with obviously
With
experience
some
of running
business knowledge.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
What attracted you to watches specifically? What was the trigger that was like, oh yeah, this is something I should start? Because usually when you have a ton of stuff, you don't usually go, I'm gonna add one more tomorrow morning, especially when it's different.
No, you're very right. We were actually at the brim as to what we really wanted to take on at the time. I had been a member of Exotic Car Hacks. I wanted to turn my hobby of cars into a profit center. Expensive hobbies. If I can make a profit, all the better. A lot of paperwork involved with selling cars. They take up a lot of space. So I actually bought my first watch from you, the first nice watch I've ever owned. And I was like, wow, this fits on my wrist. It was that easy. And after that, I said, this is great. I'm going to get hooked on this. So I need to turn this into a profit center.
Instead of just doing it for fun.
Instead of doing it for fun, and it's just, I started hanging out in the Watch Trader Academy community and just saw how cool everybody was. And we were really looking for networking, this past year, and watches kind of seemed like an in for that.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your knowledge of watches before joining. How much did you know about watches? Because I know you bought your first nicer watch for me, but what was your interaction with watches previously? Nothing at all?
Nothing. The only ones I ever owned were ones my wife bought me back before, we had any level of success, and I didn't even wear those. I mean, we're talking Fossil and Michael Kors and
cheap stuff that doesn't matter. Yeah. And that was the stuff you had before, and then this was your first attempt that I'm going to own a nice watch.
Yeah, I bought it because the strap matched the interior on my STO.
So, when you, as a business owner, lots of companies in one industry separate from watches, you weren't in the car space 100% or anything else. How did you make a decision that watches were a good business to get into? As a more savvy business owner, when you kind of gauged, should I do this? What was the attraction to this business model?
Well, I mean, it was kind of the same thing as real estate, right? You put money into it, it has a value. It can either appreciate or depreciate. But how much you'll end up losing on depreciation is very minimal compared to just throwing it into, for instance, a certain kind of stock portfolio that's, an aggressive one you could lose, a non-aggressive one you might not make a lot. And so with this and the fact that it didn't take a whole lot of space to store it, I knew that I could put a significant amount of capital into it and it be not very difficult as far as managing, right? I don't have to hire a manager to do it, right? Whereas with property, I have to pay them a percentage. That's it. They never grow it. I get the same amount of rent every month. And instead with this, I could build a team that could continue to increase how much my portfolio was worth by buying and selling at profits.
So the store of wealth was something that was interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
For you, similar to real estate, like you said, where
absolutely.
you can just put something there and the value doesn't fluctuate significantly or drop off from under you. So, but you took this much more seriously than you expected to at the beginning, no?
Yeah. At first it was just buying them to do it, and then I kind of created a vision as to what I wanted it to look like. I knew it was something I couldn't spend the time on with all the other companies. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to build this out like any other company that we have. And once I brought my first person in, I was really able to push the gas with it, and let it blow up into, and it did. My vision came to life. I mean, it turned into what I wanted it to be. I didn't have any expectations as to what I would make profit-wise. I just knew that it was going to be good.
Was there an aha moment that really defined for you, this is a real business and I'm going to make real revenue, not just side revenue from this?
It was the month that I forget which month it was, but we had crossed 50,000 in profit, And I went to my wife and business partner and said, the vision's a reality. I was like, this just happened. I told her, I said, look, I sold 4 watches this month and we made $50,000 in profit. And that was like, boom. And it's the fastest growing company I've ever started as far as getting it into the green, it being
to the
self-sufficient.
profitability.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, definitely.
And you've been able to build a team and actually use this as a business rather than some people I say either go the dealer route, others become like traders from home. And you're kind of doing a mixture of both because you have the cars. You have the exotic car hacks model kind of figured out. Like, yeah, I have all these cars coming and going. I see that. We have very similar cars and stuff, and you're buying exotics, which I'm sure have helped to being in the watch business and being in the car industry as well, meaning with the car people and networking with all those guys. So when you look at this as a business, how many employees have you needed to date to kind of scale here? Like, how many staff members do you have? What do you have? What have you hired? Basically?
So dedicated to, and we just brought on some more very recently, but up until the end of last month, we had two gals that work in sales, and then I share an employee with my other companies that handles packing and shipping and all that.
Logistics,
that kind of stuff there. But I'd say about 4, and then we now have a 5th that I brought in on a 1099, and he's working that retail angle for us. So probably about 5. Looking to add some more as well. I like to reinvest into myself. And
especially if you don't have to have the money you use because you already
I'll take it when I need it later.
Exactly. So, but you've also started to become a dealer. I remember I sold you that first Abu Dhabi, white. You kind of seem hooked because you kept it going to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit more about like what made you decide to get in, 1, custom watches, and 2, to get into this idea of becoming a dealer as well and kind of going to that route.
Well, when I actually bought that Abu Dhabi from you, I was stoked on the fact that here was a 1 of 18, essentially a Rolex watch, right? I mean, movement and all that, but it was different. And one thing I've always had an affinity for is the thing that someone can't just go and get from somebody else. To me, I like numbered editions and things like that, and I know there's a great market for people that do it. And so I had started buying them and selling them on the secondary, from other people who had bought them from AET. However, they ended up on the market.
And you doubled down. I remember you were buying a few of them.
At one point I had 3 Abu Dhabis, I said, there's got to be a way to get these things, brand new. I'm sure they have to have a dealer system. And sure enough, after months of reaching out to them, and finally commenting on one of their ads, I got a response. I explained, I bought a watch as a customer, paid full price on it. I wanted to experience it front to back. And I was just so impressed with everything and the quality of everything. I said, okay, so this is who I really am. Okay. I would like to be one of your guys' dealer agents. And it's actually been wonderful for us because we're offering a product that no one else is for the kind of client that's out there that, it may be a smaller pool of people, but they exist.
Oh no, 100%. Yeah. I would argue there's a large group in the car space that wants exclusivity over anything else. Like, I mean, look at cars, and we're buying cars with specific interiors, specific exteriors, right? We don't all want the same exact, yellow on black car and just say, oh, yeah, that's it. I want a yellow black car. My neighbor has one.
One of my favorite things is a number on a car. It's like an SVJ. It's a numbered car.
It's more exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So looking back at the journey from the beginning to now, and seeing that you do have business acumen going into this, like, what are some of the areas you feel are really underlooked by people before they start, where they need to really pay attention to this and really take that to scale faster?
A lot of it, honestly, I think for most people, and it's just like someone who's trying to get started anywhere, and we touched on this earlier, is a lot of people are afraid and trust and distrust, and we spoke about that earlier, of hiring, and getting the right person. But like any other business, I mean, it doesn't matter what it's worth. I mean, you hire a salesman at a car dealership, you run the same risk,
You might
right?
go through 5 people before you find one.
Yeah, right? So a lot of people are always concerned about that, or the payroll and the fear of having to pay somebody, but at the end of the day, payroll can be one of your strongest things. And I think people overlook just how important it is to have bandwidth, because when you free yourself up to make those big, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 decisions, you're not tied up thinking on those smaller things. And it's amazing how much faster you can scale something when you have the workforce and you put the money into the workforce. It will pay itself back,
Right. So, at the 250 or 500K level, I like to talk a little bit about something specific people can take back, especially if they're in the 100 or 250K club to go to the next level. Seems like hiring, becoming a dealer are things that you've done quite well and you have a process for. If I was going to have just hit 250K today, and said, okay, this is real now, I'm going to make some money, what would be the first hire or the first, second, and third hire that you would recommend I pay attention to?
It would be the lowest cost per dollar per hour job there is. So if you have a job
what is that for you?
That would probably be someone to do your listings, right?
Okay. So to list your watches on the internet?
To list your watches, get your ads or your things up and pack the watches.
Okay. So logistics such as listing watches, etc., would all fall on this first person I would hire.
Correct, yeah. Because that right there is going to consume your time, which at that point, if you're making that much, your time is worth at least $100 an hour, right? You can't pay yourself $100 an hour to pack or list.
All right, correct. Okay, so you hire that person, your logistics is, who's the second person you hire?
Second person is a transition of that person into sales and then a replacement for them.
Okay, so let's talk about sales, because when you list the watch, right, that isn't a form of selling, meaning you're posting the watch for sale. What would the salesperson do?
The salesperson would be more of like a sales assistant, right? So every time I would get a deal, I would have my sales assistant, Kim, actually wrap up that deal. So I'm now done. There's nothing else I need to do.
So it's like we agreed on a deal, like, yeah, I want to buy that watch for $100,000. That's the agreement. You submit that to
Correct.
Kim to basically be like collect, invoice, do that stuff. But you're still doing the selling. Technically, the relationship's still
for a
coming
short
there.
period of time, yes. And then as that, because relationships are everything, right?
100%.
In watches.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's very hard to say I'm talk to a random Kim and have your $100K watch.
So then once everybody knows that she's a part of your brand or your person is a part of your brand, you can now say, hey, when someone inquires about a watch, you can say, oh, awesome, reach out to Kim. She's got access to all of that. And they now already trust you. So you start off building the brand, but you're going to essentially train the client or train the other dealer that you have someone that's going to help you with it. But they always know in the back of your mind
that you're still available.
Still available. Everything's going to be cool. If there's a problem, it's going to get handled.
Okay. And earlier you said you have 2 salespeople. So would the next hire, the third hire, be another salesperson, or where would?
Yeah, the goal is to be 100% listed everywhere, right? Whether it's WhatsApp, Facebook groups, platforms, and to have relationships in there. And depending on how much inventory you have to do that, it's just not possible with one person. So what we did was we added someone who focused just on WhatsApp, right, and getting listed in there and building a reputation there. And then we started sprinkling in some of the Facebook groups. And ideally, everybody has their territory, whether it be the local marketplace, leads being generated online from ads that are going to be split up to everybody else. Everybody's going to have their own territory to make sure we are 100% listed at all times everywhere, because you can't sell what people can't see.
100%. If they don't know you have it,
Correct.
So let's go to that for a second, because some would argue that the reason you have, and I would also argue this because I've been in this side of the business where we own exotic cars, we're already in the lifestyle specifically. So it's much easier to list something and immediately gain trust.
For me, I'm a very private person. The only people that know I have it was when I created an Instagram account to basically back up the brand, which I no longer actually even use anymore. So the exotic cars do make a big difference for it. And what it has allowed me to do, though, is to get in and become a part of an event that I wouldn't.
Like a car event or something.
Oh, yeah, especially dealership-related events. When they invite you down, you're dealing with, you're going to the track days and things like that, and you're sitting next to people, and they're commenting on your watch, and now you're in conversations with these people that wouldn't exist.
And when you think about networking or reach, you said posting your stuff everywhere is relevant. I see you also have a dealer sheet you post for other people to buy, the wholesale sheet you do. You have a very interesting method of just kind of owning what you're just talking about, which is get your stuff out there, let everybody see you on it. What has been your best channel for referrals, or not referrals from other people, but I mean for people actually purchasing a watch? Has it been forums, Chrono, eBay, that list, Facebook? Where have you found the most success in terms of retail clients? Because you are finding retail clients much more than the average person. So.
Yeah, no, we absolutely get them. So for a retail client, I mean, Chrono 24 is great. I mean, there's so many eyes on there. But I know a lot of the watches that get sold retail are coming in from like your Facebook marketplace. You know, of course, it's your area too. You have to list watches appropriate for your area. If you're in an area where nobody can afford, you know, a $15,000 watch, and you're probably not going to get a whole lot of
Right. If you live
traction.
in the hood, you're probably not going to want to, you know, list like a 200 capacity.
Yeah, it's
You're
just
like,
probably not going to happen.
You're probably
So
going to get killed before you actually sell it.
and Facebook at the end of the day is one of the easiest places to build a reputation. They all take time to do it, but it's the only place that gives you a visual of who you're dealing with, a story behind them, some kind of profile.
So you can follow through and see
Yeah.
if the person.
So if we-
But wouldn't you say that cars have helped that as a result? Because
Oh,
when,
yeah,
when people
absolutely.
come to that, they're like, oh, this makes
Okay.
sense. The guy's selling a 100K watch. He's
So
gonna-
the other way that I've used that is you'll notice it on my timeline in general, and how I build my brand and my image is with the cars, right? Like if you went on my personal Instagram, it wouldn't be that way, but business related, it very much is. And it goes to just show people that there's more depth to me than just, I have a few watches to sell. It's, hey, look, I'm doing the do, I'm putting in the work. The only way I'm gonna be able to afford and maintain this type of lifestyle over here is if I'm making sure that I'm delivering on all my relationships. And that has helped not just retail, but tremendously in wholesale. Because other people out there see that, right? And they see, and it does build a level of credibility. You know, you have to, I talk a lot about, you have to portray an image of something that is more than just this. If you're selling a watch that's like this, then you need to be portraying that image, whether it be your social media, wherever it is. And cars help. And obviously posting pictures of nice watches do as well. Gives you a bit more depth to who you are.
Right. How long did it take you from joining Watch Trading Academy to hit 10,000 a month?
That was our first month. I mean, we hit 13K in February when we went live this past February.
So very quickly, like you
Yeah.
just adopted it and
Yeah.
went with it. Okay, very impressive.
Thank you.
You know, it's been, how has watch trading changed your life in terms of, I know like obviously as someone who has, for me, I have a lot of businesses too. So watch trading is like a passive extra, you know, cool thing because it doesn't take
Yes.
that much effort. And we love watches anyways. Like once you get into it, you actually like watches, so you buy stuff.
I mean, it's
and you're
hard.
like, so what, if
It's-
I make 20 grand, you know,
Yeah.
I'll take a
Yep.
quick text and I'll, you
Yep.
can take it, I'll find another one,
Yep.
right? So we do that, it's exciting. Has that changed your outlook on business?
It has allowed me to work more on the relationship side of business versus dealing with vendors. Instead, you're dealing with people where relationship is everything. And so what it's done is it's allowed me to mature even more in that direction.
For your other businesses?
Oh yeah, 100%. You know, and it just, I deal with people a little bit differently. You know, when you're dealing with vendors and suppliers, it can be kind of an odd relationship at times, especially when they don't meet things. But it's just allowing me to really understand that I still have to be a certain way with it, you know.
What has been your favorite brand to trade?
You know, I used to, AP used to be my favorite, but honestly, it may be a biased opinion, but I'm really liking the AET stuff.
Meaning the custom stuff that's rare or hard to
It
get.
is, because my passion is in what others cannot just so easily
Right,
get.
the exclusivity of it is what's exciting.
Yeah,
But-
and at
but
first
do you
that was
like the
AP.
AT Paddocks or do you like the APs? Because they have really nice APs too. Like
Honestly,
really
I
nice
love
sapphire.
the APs, man. Their sapphire casing
it's
is
very
great.
nice.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, AP is AP. You can't, it's like the Lamborghini of watches. The lines of a Lamborghini supersede anything else you're going to see on the market, right? And that
Very
was their
specific,
point.
yeah.
AP is the same way.
So
And
APs
so-
has been something that's really been like exciting for you. And
My
you
first
enjoy
80
trading.
watches I bought were APs.
Okay, so that's something. So, any parting words or last piece of advice for anybody new watching this, who may be sitting in the sidelines going, "Well, how do I get here?"
Oh, I mean, it's pretty easy. You just have to start, right? You know, you can't be afraid to step off the curb and get going. You will accomplish absolutely nothing profound in life unless you actually try and you actually do. And most of the time, if not all the time, it's not a matter of am I going to succeed or fail. It's more so when I'm going to succeed. You know, but you have to try. You have to get going. And I think a lot of people are just afraid to take that type of action in their life. One of the beautiful parts about Watch Trader Academy is that you get a roadmap. I mean, don't complicate it. Follow the roadmap. and it's pretty simple.
And once you get good, you can always go from there and make your own. Like
Oh,
your
yeah,
own kind
absolutely.
of like. We don't really teach to get in custom watches, but it's something that really has been for you, something you've discovered as a passion. And
Yeah,
continue
but
to.
we all grow and mature in every aspect of business.
And that's the
we're
point.
in.
It's just it's a roadmap to get the baseline going, make the money, and then maybe find your niche somewhere.
It's better than being lost. It's better than sitting on the sidelines.
I think one thing that I want people to take back from this interview that was just really important is Justin's been in business outside of watches. And if you notice one of the things he talks about at the very beginning of this interview, he said, it was attractive for me because it was a store of value like real estate. And if you look at some of these other interviews we've done from 100K, 250, 500 to a million, people who have business experience typically can recognize these small things and why they're a very important aspect of being like having a successful business foundation. Like the asset itself, the inventory is an asset instead of a liability. In a restaurant, the inventory is a liability because if you don't cook it, it dies, or you're basically gonna have to. It goes bad. But in the watch business, the inventory is an asset that could increase in value, that could retain value, like you were talking about. And this is such an important perspective shift to look at, because usually everyone we talk to always talks about this from the lens of, I discovered that watch trading was my passion, I didn't have any other businesses. Justin was making more money at his other businesses. He saw the value in adding this business to his portfolio of businesses because of that store value. And it's something that I try to talk about in the trainings. Wealth transfer matters. And it's a very important aspect of maturing in the world as a businessman, and understanding how to turn expenditure into equity. And this is something that if you can learn through this business very early on, even though it was interesting to him and he saw it as a competitive advantage, many of you guys don't even know this world exists. And so this was a very good example of an interview of an individual that is in business and is able to navigate that, seeing that as the opportunity to kind of focus on. So a big thank you to you for joining us again. I think a lot of invaluable information. Congrats again, $500,000 in rolling 12 months. It's a big deal.
It's huge, man.
And I've seen your come up. I've seen your. I would say this guy's so aggressive. At some point, I was like, he might be scamming. I was like, what's going on?
You called me.
Right? I called you.
You called me to make
sure
me.
you're doing the right thing?
You said to me, I wanted to make sure no one's promising you this, and this.
Exactly, right? I double checked.
I said nope. I said, but I see it.
Yeah, I always want to make sure that people, understand what they're doing. And as a teacher, it's very important to me. But it's true though. Like I was just worried because I was like, "What? Are you someone pushing you to buy watches, buying so many watches at once?" And he's done an incredible job getting to where he is. So definitely connect with him past this interview. But Thanks again for being here. Appreciate you. And to anyone else, I would say, who will be here next? Will you be the next 250K club member to get to 500? Or will you be the next 500 to get to 1 million? Who knows? But only you. See you next time for Watch Trading Academy.